Today we heard from Kirk Ferentz, his thoughts on the firing of Brian Ferentz. We break it down and talk about Beth Goetz, what she did in a difficult situation, righting a wrong by her predecessor. All today, Locked On Hawkeyes.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. My name is Trent Condon. That's my buddy Biz, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast for Tuesday as we talk Hawkeyes with you. Thanks for joining us. You can find us each and every day on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button while you're there. Helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. Today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Biz, good to see you. We will be seeing you Friday over at Merkle's as we'll be doing a live Locked On Hawkeye show from there. Looking forward to that. And, of course, the Hawkeye Bar in Wrigleyville. But not so much about the game this week. A lot of conversation and, obviously, the press release taken out yesterday from Beth Goetz announcing that Brian Ferentz after the season will be no more.
Trent, you seem to have a little more pep in your step and enthusiasm in your voice today. I wonder why that could be, Trent. So.
Just a little, yeah. It's something that it was such a unnecessary distraction, the 25 points per game, the way this played out. Any other coach outside of Brian Ferentz would have been relieved of their duties before this season. But here we are. And we've talked about Beth Goetz in the past, and I think you remember I was a little more keeping my wits in, a little had the hand in between because the Iowa athletic director job in a changing and evolving college environment it's a big one. It's one of only 34 SEC and Big Ten jobs. And I was a proponent of Iowa going out there and making sure that she was the right person, making this a nationwide search, because there's going to be plenty of sitting athletic directors that are going to covet this job. It's a big time job. But making that decision in difficult circumstances yesterday, as she did, that's something that not many ADs would do. And the way that I looked at her certainly changed yesterday. She's certainly not an empty suit. And we didn't think that going in, but that was a big time decision.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you have grown to dislike Brian Ferentz, you'll never get to the point. Your hatred of him as our offense coordinator will never get to the point as my hatred for Gary Barta as our AD. People that have listened to us over the years know I absolute despised Gary Barta for everything about him. The fact that he was a PR buffoon, the fact that I just don't think he was a good human being, the fact that so I say that for the reason that Beth Goetz's bar is incredibly low. Like all she has to do is have like moderate PR skills, and she's already better than Gary Barta ever was. But I think she handled this as well as you possibly could. I mean, it was never, ever, ever going to be pretty, but it was necessary. I mean, this was an absolute weight on our program. It had become not just a weight on the program, but it had become what our program was. I think I told you I went to Pittsburgh for work a couple weeks ago. The moment people knew from Iowa, they talk about Brian Ferentz. Can you imagine that there's not another offensive coordinator in college football that 2% of the fan base even know? I don't know who, Oklahoma's offensive coordinator is, or Texas's offensive coordinator. I mean, and I pay attention to a lot of college football, but everybody knows Iowa's offensive coordinator, and not in a good way. Mm-hmm. So one way or another, I mean, two things I'll say, Trent. One, this is a good thing because it needed to happen. The way it needed to come off the program. And it's, there's never going to be a perfect time to do it, but I think this was as good a time as any. The second thing, it's also sad. I mean, the whole thing is, I mean, the fact that it got to this and the fact that Brian became this, polarizing thing that, everybody, the whole fan base rallied around firing him it shouldn't have gotten to this point. And it's not fair to him either. I mean, like I told you before, I coached this little kid in flag football. I've got, there's going to be dominoes to this. He's probably not going to be the only assistant that doesn't have a job next year. And, I've got, knows us. I mean, the whole thing is it's sad. It's unfortunate that it got to this point, but it was also absolutely necessary. So, I mean, kudos to Beth Goetz for pulling off the Band-Aid at this point. I mean, I can only imagine what must have happened with the recruiting last week. I mean, that had to have been it had to have been everybody went out, they spend the week in a bye week recruiting, and the negative feedback they must have got from not only potential recruits, but the recruits they have already coming in next year must have been crystal clear, because otherwise you probably do it last Monday if you knew this was going to happen. I mean, I really think this is something that they just decided over the last few days when they came back to the recruiting trail.
And Kirk mentioned during the press conference today that he found out the news over the weekend. He got basically the same kind of release, and that's how he found out the information. So, the way that this played out, it's not a surprise, but I think you put it very well too. Getting this out here, I know it's a distraction, and Kirk, you could tell he was terribly pissed about that. He does not like in-season distractions. He does not like these things. That's why he's never made an in-season coaching change at any level during season, because he does not like those kind of distractions. And I think that's certainly a portion that upset him, but it's something that had to be done. And Beth gets to do that now instead of leading to, what if they do qualify for Indianapolis? They're delaying it another week. And then Kirk says, no, let's wait till we get through the bowl game. And you're just pushing things back further and further. Kirk is not going to be, out there right now interviewing offensive coordinators. We know that, but knowing that there isn't any possibility, the excuse of the injuries is not going to be able to be an excuse. This is happening. This is the way it's going to be. And maybe Kirk for himself, he can kind of wrap his mind around it and have some time to reflect and understand, if I'm going to stay here, the things and the changes that I need to make.
Yeah. And the other part of this, Trent, and this comes straight from Mr. B, for people that listen, that's my dad. He is the ultimate Iowa fan. He always adds a good perspective to these things, because he's been a fan for, you and I have been fans for 40 years. He's been a fan for 70 years, and he's seen the really, really lean times. You and I have been lucky that for the most part, we've seen nothing but success. There's been some bumps in the road, but it's never been the really awful stuff. But his big worry, and he loves Kirk Ferentz, and he thinks Kirk should be able to make the decision whenever he wants to go. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a dynamic young offensive coordinator and you know that Kirk Ferentz is still here, is this a job you want right now? I mean, the fact, if you're somebody who wants to really take the reins to an offense, you're probably not going to get that at Iowa. If Kirk Ferentz is here, he's going to have his thumb on you the whole time. And that's like I said, that was my dad's big worry right away, is like, okay, but who's going to want to take this position with Kirk still looking over your shoulder? And so, I don't know. I agree that Kirk has earned the right to say when he needs to go, but that time might be the best time for the future of the program. Because if you want to really make a change and bring in somebody that's going to do some different things, the best option is you kind of start from scratch on the offensive side.
Yeah, it's something that, I know, like Ryan Grubb right now, the Washington offensive coordinator, that's the apple of everybody's eye. Well, he turned down the Alabama job last year. Though he's an Iowa native, getting a guy like that is going to cost upwards of probably $3 to $4 million a year. Is Iowa willing to go that path? And then most importantly, is Kirk willing to be more hands-off at this point in his career? Hey, the line blocking that we do has to change. What you have done for decades is going to have to change. And at this point in his career, is he willing? I think that's one of the big questions that remain out there, and something that, frankly, we really just don't know. It would be difficult to envision him going out and even bringing in an offensive coordinator that is run-based and 50-50, but is going to diversify what they're doing offensively, that Kirk's going to be hands-off at this point.
Yeah, and you and I talked about the Wisconsin game. I'm in the minority here, but I don't want what Wisconsin has. I don't want to bring in an air raid guy. I think our best chance of being successful in the new look Big Ten is to get more creative with the run game and use it better. But more importantly, we've got to get back to the bullies of the Big Ten. We've got to get back to what Michigan's doing. We got to look more at what Michigan is doing and not what Ohio State and USC are doing, because we're never going to out-athlete USC and Ohio State. But if we focus on line development and getting creative and finding ways to work off of the running game, that's what we need to do. So I'm not a proponent at all of bringing in the run and shoot or air raid or any of those types of things. I just don't think we can be successful. I don't think we have the athletes to do it, and I think it would just be us fighting a losing battle against teams that are better than us at that. So I hope we bring in somebody who can bring back the physicality and obviously be much more creative than what we've seen, but also embrace the fact that we want to be the bullies of the Big Ten.
No doubt about it. We continue here on Locked On Hawkeyes. There is a game coming up this weekend, coming off the bye. Are we anticipating we're going to see anything different? We'll get into that. We got our picks coming up as well. A whole lot going on as we continue. This is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and views from your seat, and of course, their best price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. See those views from your seat before you buy it. Maybe you're heading to Wrigley this weekend, don't have those tickets yet. This is the place, and seeing inside of a baseball field what your seats are actually going to look like. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal without those hidden fees. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. And you can find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy theater, and a whole lot more. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's going to get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Trent and Biz back with you again here on Locked On Hawkeyes. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. Biz, there's a game. You're going to be there. We'll see you at Merkle's on Friday, as we'll be doing a live Locked On Hawkeyes, and Saturday in Wrigley.
Not me. I'll be drinking. I'll watch your live podcast.
Well, people can come talk to you. How about that?
I don't think anybody wants to do that either.
The infamous Jace Bisgard. That'll be great for you. I know you love that when you get those interactions. But to the game on the field on Saturday, it will be Deacon Hill that will get the start. There were some rumblings a week ago that maybe Labus was getting more run. Now, it was also a bye week. Yeah, you get most guys more work during a bye week, and certainly young guys. So I don't know what to read into that. But I think you posed the question, are we going to see any changes Saturdays, or just going to be more of the same offensively?
Yeah, and I think during the bye week, I sent that out to our text chain, and I think I listed 5 things. I'll see if I can remember all 5 of them. But I know one was what everybody wants, which is put in a package for Cooper or any defensive player on off. Sebastian Castro, I don't care, but somebody on offense. That's one. Number 2, install some sort of a wildcat. You get another athlete on the field, put 2 running backs in there. Try that of some sort. Number 3 was to put in Labus, which obviously that's already been crossed off the board. I think number 4 was to go back to the 2019 playbook and at least do something exotic for the special teams. We had that 8-week stretch where we were every week something fun was coming up, and now we haven't done that at all in 4 years. So at least do something bizarre in the special teams or try to do something unique. And then the 5th, I think, was to go to the Hayden Fry book of exotics and pull out a couple of reverse flea flickers or something quirky to at least do something different. So those are the 5, Trent. So having known those are my 5 options, what's the likelihood that any of those things were installed at all during the bye week?
Oh boy, it's so difficult because they're behind the 8 ball. They are banged up. Yeah, you lose a quarterback and your backup is not competent. That's a problem. And there's not a whole lot you can do. And we can scream for Labus or even Lionez, but the likelihood is that neither of those guys are going to be very good either. So you have that component to it. But just try something. And that's the part of this that I get so frustrated. I mentioned this yesterday, Biz. I want to get your thoughts on that. We go back and we look at some of the high moments when Brian was running the offense, and of course the Ohio State game, but there's been plenty of other games where this team has looked good offensively. They look competent, and not just because they ran the football, but also in the passing game. Is it as simple as the last 2 years that offensive line has just been so bad that they can't do the prior route concepts that they have, or has something changed? Because he almost seems like he's, when you hear about writers getting rider block, right? He can't get out of his own way. After those scripted plays, he just can't see what to do in the passing game because it's so rare to even find, oh yeah, that made sense. It didn't work, but that was a good play call in the passing game. They just feel so rare.
Maybe that should have been number 6 on the list, Trent. It's just script all 50 plays. Just
right.
Expand your script. Make the script 60 plays instead of 15. So, yeah, I mean, I think honestly, the last 2 years, it's been a perfect storm of circumstances to make us. I mean, you don't become the worst offense in football because one thing happened. I mean, when you look at it, we've had terrible quarterback play, terrible wide receiver play, terrible offensive line play. We've had bad luck injuries, and our coordinator has been obviously much maligned. All 5 of those things play a role in where we're at right now. I mean, in firing Brian is only one of those 5 things. So the other 4 have got to improve. They're not going to magically improve in the 2-week bye week. So that's why there's got to be some creativity in there. But I mean, to me, the simple solution is we've got to be able to run the ball and then get creative off the run. I mean, we looked, we've talked about it. I mean, Wisconsin and Purdue, we ran the ball successfully, and we looked like at least a competent offense. So I mean, that's number one. And how you run it, I don't care. I mean, whether it's wildcat, whether you do some jet sweep, you got to get creative. You got to find a way to be successful on the run. And then once that happens, then I think Deacon Hill can be serviceable. I mean, because as you saw in Minnesota game, I mean, if they take down the run and you force him to pass, it's over. I mean, he cannot be the focal point of our offense. So we got to find a way somewhere or another to get the running game going, whether it's some exotics, some wildcat, bring in Cooper, whatever it is. I don't care, but we got to get the running game going.
I'm a huge proponent, and I just don't think the Cooper thing's going to happen. I think, we saw Deshaun Lee come in. Well, he's banged up. TJ Hall, I think he's got a chance to be okay. He's banged up. So they have absolutely no depth at cornerback.
Sounds like they may both be healthy again this week. I heard,
which would be huge. But because of that,
TJ Hall, I think, was the only cornerback still listed on the injury chart or something.
That's good. And then that's a good thing. But going wildcat, we've seen it before. We've seen it with Brian Ferentz as the coordinator. I would anticipate it's something, though it hasn't been part of the playbook, at least maybe they've practiced a few times in the past, maybe something during August camp. I don't think it's something that was completely ripped out of the playbook. So you start right there. Iowa has 3 talented running backs, and really I think 4 with Moulton, but they got 4 pretty good running backs. We'll see. And
let's go with pretty good, Trent. Yeah, I don't know.
3 pretty good running backs.
3 serviceable running backs.
You get 2 of those guys out there. You mentioned Wildcat, using one of them out of the slot. Jet sweeps, instead of doing it with Wetchen, do it with a guy that's actually touched the ball. Do that a little bit more. It just, that creativity, it feels like it has completely just gone out of the playbook. And I'm with you. So of those kind of 5 things that you list, we know quarterback change is not going to happen, at least initially. I don't think Cooper is going to happen as much as we want to see it. I think the most likely and the thing that can help out is going running back, putting Caleb Johnson back there with Jazzion Patterson. See if you can get something out of that. Can you get a pass out of that? Can either of those guys throw the football? We never got to see it with Tyler Goodson. We heard how he could throw the football, and we didn't get a chance to see that. But just play around with a little something. If we go out there for 3 hours and do the exact same garbage and even escape with a 13-10 win, it's not going to feel very good.
Maybe now that he's been shown the door, maybe Brian just goes rogue, and we see what everybody's been clamoring for all along. We go 5 wide, and just Deacon Hill throws the ball 60 times, and everybody gets what they've been asking for, and then we lose 41-3. So
that would be something.
And Brian can be like, "See, here's what would have happened."
That's what it would have been. Yeah, that's what it could have been if you guys would have just let me. Well, we're going to talk about these final 4 games. Look at it in its totality. What are the chances that the Hawkeyes actually go out there and win these final 4 games, punch their ticket to Indianapolis, and what that means? Also, what does that mean for Iowa football if it does play out that fashion? And Beth Goetz, I want to get business perspective on that. We do that as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel and the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets with a winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins, as simple as that. Don't even need the point spread there, just a money line bet. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app, it's super easy to use and a wide menu of choices. I like to play in the futures market. They got same game parlays, everything that you can imagine, spreads, player props, over-unders, and a whole lot more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season right. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Biz, speaking of FanDuel, we'll make our pick of the week presented by FanDuel coming up here in just a moment. But before that, let's get into the last 4 games in its totality. 4 very winnable games, 4 very losable games with the state of this offense right now. What is the likelihood that either this is something that galvanizes the team, that we see them come out and play an even better brand of football, or it goes the other way? I mean, yeah, 2-2 is probably the most likely scenario, maybe 3-1. 4-0 is going to be tough to do. Just how do you handicap it, I guess, at this point?
I think the likelihood of us going 4-0 is 5% at best. I mean, and that may be generous. And more part of that is 2 reasons. One, like you said, we're so banged up that just even if we do get creative, I mean, best case scenario, if this team scores 24 points, that's asking a lot of this offense right now, based on what we have for talent. But the other flip side of this is all 4 teams we play are all trending in the right direction right now. As far as, I mean, Northwestern's 4-4, and nobody anticipated that a month ago. Illinois' last 2 games are a win at Maryland and a game where they gave it away against Wisconsin. Rutgers in between there. Rutgers is 6-2, and they've been competitive in every single game. And then Nebraska, I mean, they're kind of a clone of us right now. I mean, they're darn good defensively. They've got a lot of injuries and not very much talent on offense. But, I mean, going on the road, and, I mean, their quarterback's not good. But if you had to pick between the 2 quarterbacks, you're going to take Hareberg over Hill for sure. So, and their defense is phenomenal right now. So, I mean, I think it's more a product of the 4 teams we're playing all being, I mean, the Big Ten West is kind of a laughing stock, but all 4 of those teams we play are all trending in the right direction at least. I mean, are they great? Absolutely not. But they're not, there isn't a single game there where you're like, oh, that's a freebie anymore. I mean, I think a month ago we all looked at Northwestern as like, just an automatic victory. And most years you assume Rutgers is an automatic victory, but that's not the case. And, I don't know. So my guess is I'll say obviously 4-0 would be ideal, but 3-1, given everything that's going on here, if we can go 3-1 down the stretch and then hope for some luck, and you still can get into Indy potentially, but that's my kind of realistic best case scenario is 3-1.
Yeah, I think that's a likely scenario, and it's got to start this week. You have to get this win. You just do. I think Rutgers is probably the best, most talented team.
Yeah, if we don't get this week, the risk of the wheels falling off is pretty high.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what it is. I anticipate this one is going to go well this week. I was not overly optimistic, and I'm feeling better. I think this is something Kirk Ferentz does well in situations where counted out, us against the world, those kind of things. That's what Kirk Ferentz is kind of at his best, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think the last couple of years, I mean, when we've played teams like this that are just not very talented, Phil has just manhandled these kind of teams. And I'd be shocked if Northwestern can score 10 points on us. And so the question is, can we get to 10? I mean, there's a reason this is a 29.5 point, the lowest over-under in the history of college football. So, I mean, the only way they get to 10 is if Deacon Hill hands them some points. So I would not be surprised if you see us run the ball 80% of the time on Saturday, and people won't be happy, but I mean, we'd be happy to, I know you said earlier 13-10 people wouldn't be happy, and you're right, but that's, at this point, that's what we need to do. I mean, with the lack of talent and with especially the lack of talent at the quarterback position, I'll take every 13-10 win we can get.
Absolutely. Stack them up. And if you get 4 of them, you'll be in Indianapolis and take your shot against Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, whoever comes out of there. And that'll be that. Well, Biz, we, depending on when you got the number last week, it could have been a win. It could have been a loss.
You're counting it as a win, Trent.
We absolutely are. And
I got it on Saturday. So
17-6. They score a touchdown to make it 17-6. And they go for 2 to make it a 9-point game. What were they doing?
The wacky service academies. They may not even have a kicker. So.
Oh, that's very true too. One thing I was hoping for, and FanDuel throughout the season, they have been putting out updated odds to win the division. I don't know if it's too late in the season to do that, but they do not have any Big Ten West odds up right now. I'd be intrigued to see what those odds are. Do you think Wisconsin would probably be the betting favorite right now?
Oh, maybe Nebraska. I mean, they got a pretty favorable schedule down the stretch, but I would guess it's probably still us, but I would guess nobody has good odds. I mean, I guess we're still potentially the favorite just because we're kind of in the driver's seat. I mean, Minnesota's still got to go to Ohio State, so they're going to lose one in there. And I don't know. Whatever the odds are for any of them, I wouldn't be real confident betting on any of the Big Ten West teams at this point.
I'm scrolling through a couple of different places. Yeah, not finding it right now. But we get into our pick for the week presented by FanDuel. We were on the same side with our last podcast. This week, Biz, we've been pretty successful just picking one game. Let's get into it. What is your pick of the week?
Time for the old reverse jinx, Trent. I think once a year I do this, and I've had decent luck in the past, but Iowa State worries me. I think they're for whatever reason they have become a pretty decent football team down the stretch. And I watched that Kansas game. The backup quarterback is a turnover waiting to happen. I mean, he makes some good plays, but he also makes some just absolutely completely bonehead plays. And I think at home night game at Jack Trice, I think Iowa State kicks the crap out of Kansas. So give me the Clones, and I'll be happy if I'm wrong.
That is one of the picks I already have locked in for the week. I got it at 2.5 when it came out, and it's up to 3. I'm with you. I think Iowa State rolls in this one. Well, I'm going to go the same direction here, and a team that I like to fade, but Nebraska, they're figuring it out.
That's the other reverse jinx, Trent. Good.
Yep.
Double it up.
Michigan State, they're going the other way. Let's lay the field goal on the road. Give me Herbie Husker minus the 3 in Spartanville to get the victory there. So Iowa State and Nebraska for us this week. And that's one of those. This is the emotional hedge, right? We're right. Got a little money in the account. If you're wrong, that's okay too.
I would never be happier to come back here next week and both of us announce that we lost. That'd be and that the Hawks would be a perfect thing. Two losses, and we'd pay for those 2 losses and get a Hawks victory.
Well, we will see you, Biz, Friday at Merkle's. You'll be getting in middle of the afternoon. Merkle's will open up early at noon on Friday. You can stop on by, and then they'll be open early. And some dignitaries, Hawkeye football dignitaries, expected to stop by. Sam Laporta, Lions on their bye week. He might be stopping in. Dallas Clark is anticipated that he's going to stop by. So not just a chance to see Biz, but you can also hang out with a couple of All-American tight ends.
Well, both equally exciting to see, I'm sure. But,
There's no doubt about it. Biz, we'll see you over in Chicago on Saturday. Looking forward to it on Friday. And then, of course, the game on Saturday. Looking forward to it.
All right, go Hawks.